Hey everybody, this is Way to Fail with a new series, Kerbal Space Program Career-ish mode. That's right, there is no actual career mode implemented in the game yet, but I'm going to be doing a series exploring the Kerbal system pretty much under career mode style restrictions. That's going to mean a few things, mainly that I need to try and keep my ships under a specific yet to be determined budget. I need to limit my mission profile early, which means probing things before visiting, unmanned flights before manned flights. But pretty much the goal of this is to eventually explore the entire Kerbal system, preferably to land on the entire Kerbal system, but we're going to be starting small this episode. Like many space programs, we just got to show that we have what it takes to even get in the air, get into orbit. So this is going to be a short, pretty basic episode, just showing just that. So let's go ahead and look at the rocket that I'm starting to assemble. So right now we are at 930 cost times a lot. And I'm not exactly sure why the cost isn't always updating. We'll just drop an engine on here as well. You can't have space for free, but you can have space for the low price of 5,000. Surely they're going to be allowed to have a little more than that in their budget. So we are going to be using just the basic rockets here. In fact, probably should be using, let's see, with the max power 220 versus 215. Probably do want to spring the extra 100 just for that. And in career mode, hopefully we'll have a limitation on all of these things. But like I said, I'm just going to build a very basic rocket here today. So we do want some radial decouplers. And we're going to keep this nice and small. Oh, that's way too big. There we go. So we're just going to build a very basic rocket here. And I don't know if this is going to really overshoot what I need to get into space. But we'll find out. I could put some solid rockets on top here. Solid fuel boosters don't cost that much. So I'm just trying to get out into orbit. I think that's going to do it. I think that's going to be enough thrust, enough delta V to maybe do it. Because do we actually have... I don't think these guys stack very nicely. So let's do 4. Alright, and here we go. We have a ship that may have enough to get us into orbit. I don't really know for sure if we do or we don't. I tried to make it a little smaller. The total cost is under 10,000. But I do want to put this one stage rocket right here. We want to see if this is going to be a good launch or a failed launch or what. Like I said, I just want to put it into orbit. So now I'm on the launch pad here, and we're in post-commentary mode right now as I'm using the solid boosters. And I could tell pretty quickly here, probably shouldn't be firing my regular boosters as well. We're watching this in ×4 mode, but you can see solid boosters doing a lot of the work, making my gravity turn a little bit late here. I've already dumped some fuel I didn't need to, just to get up in the air, but still it looks like I'm on a good trajectory for orbit. Make the maneuver node accordingly. And yeah, there we go, right away, the Tin Man, as I named it, as I try and get my orbit all nice and pretty here, just doing the normal and anti-normal changes. I am up in space, I am in the air, and I am on my way, just needing a little bit of extra delta V to actually get into orbit. But you can see there's a problem. I don't have a lot of fuel. So while I do a burn and I do actually have barely enough fuel to get into orbit, I don't have enough fuel to return. But hey, at least on the bright side, first try getting in orbit for the Tin Man for the space program, a success. But remember, I want to be able to return as well. So back to the drawing board. Alright, so we're trying to make Tin Man Part 2 again, and right now we're under 10,000, and pretty much what it boils down to is I want to show you all a flight up, a return. I've added an extra fuel thing here. We're going to be going with the solid boosters first. So one of the first mistakes I made was with the staging here. So we're actually going to add a stage here. Put this up here. We're going to have the solids do our work first and then dump them and put the next thing on. And another issue I've run into is that this is a probe. This isn't a manned flight craft. So I need to actually have something that generates power on it, or I'm going to be in trouble. Because if I don't have any kind of power generator, and I do want to have just something small, something that doesn't take a lot of money here. Solar panel simple with no sun tracking or deployment mechanics. As a result, it's very light and cheap. That's what we want, light and cheap. Now it's going to put us over the fancy 10,000 mark, but I'll take it. We just want to have these on each side. We're actually going to move this down here and just have one. And what's our final tally for a fly and return? Not too much, just 10,000. I'll take it. So 10 man part 2. We'll see if this will be the one that gets us back to the planet. Like I said, we fixed the staging from before, and now it's time to fly as we're back in post-commentary mode, flying up again, using the solid boosters this time, not using my regular boosters. Going to try and make the gravity turn here a little bit better. Really like those solid boosters. Hadn't used them much before, but you see now I have to burn up briefly before getting to my 90-degree angle here. But right now, things are looking good. My probe is looking pretty happy. I mean, I just have some equipment, some panels on there. So we're just getting up into the same orbit again, trying to, as we can see, maneuver node's good. Still takes a lot of delta V to get into a regular orbit here. But I just try and try just to make sure things are aligned perfectly nice. You can see the solar panels gleaming in the sunlight. So we are just taking a look at this in the future again. So there's the quick burn, post-commentary style. Solar panels are working out pretty well, but remember, solar panels are only as good as the bright side of the planet. So because I can't really afford in my space program to spring for things like nuclear thermal generators, and I don't necessarily want to burn fuel just to recharge my probe power, means pretty much I can't make maneuvers or do many adjustments on the dark side of the planet. But I do recharge really quickly. The scientific equipment, I guess, drains some power, and I could have deactivated a little bit, but that probe sucks power too. But right now what I'm doing is I do a little victory lap around the planet. I have a pretty good orbital trajectory, but at this point I am just trying to say, hey, can I actually get back to landing in the Kerbal Space Center? And if you saw from where my projected node is, I needed to aim it a little further into the ocean, maybe about halfway. And instead I aim it a little bit closer to the coast. So while all I need to do is just a brief retrograde burn, I'd love to do it near the apoapsis, but I do want to get near the Space Center, at least in some way, shape, or form, because this one isn't going to be a USSR-style Sputnik staying in the planet. I actually want to recover it. I can't do it necessarily at my apoapsis because it's on the dark side of the planet, where I can't really do moves or adjustments. So you see I do just a burn here. The maneuver node's kind of a guide, but I'm doing a retrograde burn on my own, seeing where the lines mesh up, and yeah, I way overshoot my adjustment for the area where I'm coming in. Now maybe the other dicey mistake that I'm making, as I'm realizing real quick I'm not going to be able to make it to the Kerbal Space Center, is that I actually ditched my solar panels and everything really early. So it's just a probe and a parachute right now, and I actually activate the parachute super early, which is a calculated risk because if I don't have any electricity, I can't activate the parachute, so it needs to be active ahead of time. So it's going to be burning in the atmosphere as much as possible. If there is going to be any glowies here, I'm not sure, but we do get a nice view of the planet, of the sea. I love what they've done to sort of change this. But at this point, here we go. Things are looking good. My parachute hasn't broken yet. There's the moon, which is probably going to be the next target for another mission if the budget allows. But for now, we're going to have a splashdown. And assuming things don't break, it's going to be a successful landing and a successful mission. So we're going to get here towards the very end, just hitting the water, and there is the stat screen, which I didn't realize that you had to hit F3 to do it now. But you can see our movements and a little stats here. I'll just leave them up to speak for themselves, but there we go. It took 2 launches, and so far I'd say that we've at least earned ourselves a little bit of money or funding to try and go deeper into space in the future. So that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you all at least enjoy this look of Kerbal Space Program. I will end it with some mission stats. And if you have any suggestions for missions or budget ranges, by all means feel free to submit them to me, because I mean this is a collaborative process. I'm flying for the program as a commander, but I mean I have to write grants and everything like everybody else. But that's it for now. I think next episode is going to be at least shooting for the moon, and we'll see how that goes. And maybe even a manned spaceflight. Ooh. Here's your stats for this mission. This is Way to Fail. See you next time.